Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Arcane Assist Plays Guild Ball. This is our second game playing Guild Ball. We're really excited about it. Today I'm joined by Craig, who's our local pundit at Black Knight Games, and we're playing a matchup we've played a couple of times before. We really enjoy this one. How's it going, Craig?
Hey Tim, not too bad. So I know Tim loves his butchers,
Yep.
so I thought I'd bring something different to the game this time and try out some Blackheart Union.
Yeah, Blackheart's a really neat character, and the Union are a really weird team because they're a bunch of individualists who don't necessarily have the same synergies that I've kind of grown used to and kind of loved with my butchers, but they have some really powerful characters. We're by no means, as we mentioned before already, experts at Guild Ball. This is a game we love, although Craig's becoming quite an expert at Guild Ball, being our local pundit. But we at Arcane Assist are not Guild Ball experts. This is something we've enjoyed. So if we make a mistake or have a rules error, there's something you want to clarify, by all means, post in the comments. I claim no authority here, but I do promise you it's this really, really fun game, and we've had a blast playing it. So we're going to jump into things, and I will talk about our team choices in a moment.
All right, so for my team, like I said, we're going to be playing Blackheart Union. So my captain's Blackheart. My mascot is going to be Coin, his snake that he's been feeding gold coins to this for his entire life. So he's kind of fat and kind of slow, but has some cool things he can do with that.
Yeah, sure does.
On top of that, we are going to be taking Mist as my striker. Because Mist is very, very good goal threat. Basically, the static range of table. So
Yep. It's pretty impressive.
On top of which we have Gutter. Gutter is a very solid player who is very, very, very hard to kill. Decimate, who is very good at converting influence into momentum with anatomic precision, high tack stat, and that is it.
Mist, Decimate, Gutter,
Yeah.
Coin, Blackheart.
And Rage. Original Rage.
Yes, Rage is really, really fantastic. He's basically Bill the Butcher from Gangs of New York. Super scary character.
Yes.
So I'm playing a team you've seen me play before in the matchup where I played against Evan's Alchemists. If you haven't watched that video already, by all means, check it out. We've got it up on the channel. I am playing Fillet as my captain. She's one of my favorite characters. She's really, really neat. Also playing Meat Hook with her because they come as a partnership of sorts. I'm bringing Boiler and Princess. Princess is my mascot, and Boiler is a pretty incredible support character for them. I'm running the original Brisket, sort of the band all back together type experience, and Veteran Ox, who has been just an all-star for me. He's such a performer. He's kicking that ball out there. He's not spectacular kicking, but I'd like to give him a bit of the threat. He doesn't get any successes. This is where the ball's going, and it goes about an inch to the 5. So we move that ball in there, and we've got some terrain that we should talk about very briefly. We've got some rough ground, we've got a couple of obstacles, proper obstruction, and a forest at the top corner there.
Mm-hmm. So it's the kickoff just happened. Now we're doing an influence allocation. So I want to put a bunch of influence on Mist this turn. I feel that allocating heavily to a striker is good in terms of just it gives you options later in the turn, so you can potentially score at the top, like the very end of the turn, and set yourself up in a good position at the start of the next turn.
Do you think you're going to score this turn? Is that the plan?
Possibly.
Okay.
It's nothing stopping me from doing that at this point, other than just momentum generation.
Right.
Blackheart's very good at. He's good at everything. That's sort of his role in the captain lineup.
He's a bit of a generalist.
Yes. Rage is very good at hitting things, and Brisket's very good at scoring, and Blackheart sort of just lives in the center. He also has a very, very powerful legendary play with Strike from the Shadows if you choose +1 Death.
Right.
So at this point, I am just doing Gutter, determining where I can get her to sort of get the ball out of there and in somewhere better.
Yeah, I for my part allocated a couple to Ox, hoping he'll get an opportunity to use that vindictive mail to charge somebody mail. I stuck a whole bunch of influence on Fillet, put 4 on Boiler so we can give +1 defense to both Brisket and Fillet, and I put 1 on Meat Hook so she can tool up Fillet just in case I get that opportunity to kill somebody.
Yeah. Gutter has passed the ball to the snake.
Very nice. Snack ball. I like it. What was your line of thinking there? Just clear the ball off. Like don't let it sit there.
Yeah, get the ball as close to Mist as possible is essentially what I'm thinking in that case. Myth needs the ball in order to do stuff, and essentially I just want him to sort of get into a good position to threaten later on in the turn.
So, for my part, Boiler does something a little bit different. This is the first time I've tried this out. He moves up and he puts +1 defense on Ox and Fillet this time. They're both my brawlers, and I figured just Ox is often a bit of a momentum sink at defense 3. So putting him to defense 4 will maybe cause Craig some pause in his reactions. I also moved Boiler up pretty far, but he's still benefiting from the cover because he's been into that obstruction. And I wanted to... I always feel like I never deploy him early enough, and he's really useful for getting the bleed out that Fillet likes, so I'm kind of putting him a little further up this time than I normally would play him.
Yeah. So the snake dropped the ball. Mist picked it up, and then he did Bag of Coffers on Mist to allocate him an extra influence.
That's pretty amazing. Yep, just delivering that ball to Mist, ready to go. I suspect I'm going to get scored on in a moment. So Meatuk moved up, and Meatuk tooled up Fillet and walked into position. Just getting ready to be able to hook something maybe, possibly apply some Scything Blow, maybe get some things to be bleeding. I really like to play the condition game, and I feel like softening up players is a critical element of it.
Agreed. So on my turn, I'm debating on who I'm going to go with next. For a while here, it's very tricky with this matchup because if I mess up my positioning critically, then Fillet gets to have a 4-point activation, which isn't great. So instead, we're just going to have Mist sort of just trundle over acrobatics to cover and then sort of get into a good position to threaten the ball next turn rather than score this turn. It's really hard for me to get that far without some sort of threat extension.
Right.
Had I passed the ball to him, that would have been different.
Because you could have done like a grab and go? Or?
Yeah, he would have been a passive
I guess
move.
at this point in the game, your problem is still that you just don't have any momentum yet.
Exactly. And I'm out of players that I want to activate at this point because I want Fillet to do something before I commit heavily to something else.
Yeah, you'd like to put some pieces in her way.
Yes.
Okay. So Rage moves up and is really conservative.
Yes.
He doesn't want to get charged by Ox, which I totally get. That makes a ton of sense.
Rage is a pretty influence light character. He's only won one, but he has Berserk. So
he charges for free too, doesn't he?
Yes, he is Furious as well.
Yeah. That's really good.
So he gets 4 attacks out of 1 influence.
Yeah, that's a lot like Boar on the Butcher team, who I don't play very much because I don't like his character because I'm a fluff bunny. So Fillet measures her threat a little bit. At this point, I basically have to activate my captain. So she moves up, and she is going to... She uses her +2 movement ability on Ox, and then she is going to just throw some bleeding pain circle down. So she tosses her circle of pain, blood circle, whatever it's called.
Pain circle.
Pain circle, thank you. As you can tell, I'm still sort of catching all the rules. And she's just going to try to, put a bunch of people bleeding. That's kind of the trick. If I can get that out early, get a little bit of early attrition damage, put some work on Rage. He takes a couple of points of damage. She is tooled up, so she does extra damage on all of these. Manages to get her to bleed, and manages to get Blackheart to bleed too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome.
So what I want to do here, now that Fillet's activated, I want to get Blackheart sort of with a full stack at this point to just do a bunch of momentous stuff to her in order to try to get into a good position next turn. He is tooled up, so he is going to be able to do some significant damage to her. And Fillet is kind of tissue papery in terms of her health. So
the only thing I've got going for me right now is that as it stands, I have +1 defense. So 6s are a pretty good defensive stat line.
Yes, agreed. So Blackheart has a pretty good threat range. He's 2-inch reach. He is Shadow-like, so he dodges at the start of the turn, and he's 4/6, so he can get to a lot of places that most people don't expect him to get to.
Yeah, he's much faster than his profile would give you credit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's defense 4, armor 1?
3/2.
3/2, so he's kind of like a Mason in terms of his stat line.
Yeah. He can go up to a 4/2 with his legendary play.
So was this a charge?
Yes.
Yes. So you charged, and you only got 2, but 2's pretty good.
Yeah.
You got some momentum with that. We're tracking that with those little crystals we've got on the goalpost there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're up to 2 momentum now.
So I'm just trying to get anything I can at this point to try to get a better lead next turn. Because if I can get the next turn, then that's going to make things go a little bit smoother for me.
Yeah. It's a big deal. You're just kind of staying out of Fillet's threat range, doing a little bit of damage to her, but mostly just kind of dodging around, building momentum.
Yes.
And as you stated already, that was kind of your goal here, so that's not really a bad thing.
He's got a pretty reliable dodge, which is nice. Also, Blackheart is a really good counterattack because he has a dodge on 1 and a double dodge on 2.
And then you used your is it concussive?
What's called misdirection to
misdirection.
Reduce that influence by 1.
So Ox charges. You've got influence momentum if you want to spend it to be defensive. I'm gonna be just out. I end up deciding to go in.
Okay.
I go in on Gutter as well. He gets a minor bit of healing from being in melee with people, so I like to kind of stick him into the thick of things early in the play. He misses a bunch, but I get 3 hits, 2 armor, so it's a net of 1 hit. That unfortunately isn't what I was looking for, which was to build up a bit of momentum. Instead,
You get stuck in.
I get stuck in.
Which is momentous, so mission accomplished there.
Yep, that's the one momentum I needed. So now you've only got a 2-point lead.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't lose the die roll here. I mean, that's the gamble. That's the hope.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a bunch of damage in on you, and Fillet did heal a little bit because she has that hemophilia rule.
Yes.
So the tiny bit of damage Blackheart did actually was mitigated, and as you saw there, I actually won the die roll.
Yeah.
Thanks to that momentum that Ox generated.
So that's a pretty critical roll there. I wanted to go first to try to just handle Fillet early, and her being able to activate before me if need be puts a serious damper on that plan.
Yeah.
But I do get a momentum for that, so Mist can now score that goal pretty trivially.
Not much I can do about that, unfortunately.
No,
I gotta play the game I gotta play. In the case of Butchers, that's sink my teeth into it.
Yeah.
It's just punish you as much as I can for showing up.
I mean, with that there, Mist has a pretty static goal threat of table, like I said, so he's going to be there. So that's fine, but that's not going to win me the game. 1 goal is not going to do that, so I need to do some more work here in the center.
So Meathook activates first. She moves in on Blackheart. I'm hoping to hook you. That's basically the angle I'm going for here. And she also causes bleeding. So I roll real well here, and I manage to get a good damage play with her. If you're bleeding and you're hooked for -1 defense, that's a big deal. Like, that immediately gives me sorry, was it your counterattack you got to?
No, you pushed, I believe.
Sorry, sorry, she has a damage and a push or something like that.
And then she tools up.
Yeah, and then I tooled up Fillet. So obviously I'm setting up there for a big play. I reduced your defense by 1, so now you're 2-2, which is much less exciting of a stat line. Mm-hmm. You're bleeding, which Fillet likes because that's kind of a bonus tool up for her. I've also got her tooled up anyway, so she's got the capacity for an enormous amount of damage right now.
Yeah, so now Blackheart's going to go. This is my legendary turn. His legendary, I'm going to be choosing +1 defense. So it's going to be a little bit harder for him to sort of hit my guys this turn. Blackheart's unfortunately dropped the defense, so that's a problem.
But you're back to 3, though.
It's true. 3-2 is still...
twos.
Yes, that is actually a pretty significant thing. And then he's going to just try to generate a bunch of momentum. Like I said, he's got a really compelling counterattack. So anything I can do to sort of mitigate that a bit is going to be useful. So I'm just putting a bit of chip damage into her. She healed a bunch of health, so this isn't really going to be super great.
Yeah, I mean, you're chipping her down at almost the same rate as she's healing because of all the bleeds that are out there. So,
ideally, Rage goes first and tools her up, or tools Blackheart up.
Yeah, and in this particular case, it's you're activating him now because you sense there's some urgency.
Yes, if I activate Rage, she almost certainly just Tim almost certainly activates Fillet and just annihilates my team.
So you're bleeding, you're hooked, but you're +1 defense.
Yeah, I should have healed here. I should have cleared my conditions, but c'est la vie. Also, I won the momentum for potential things for later on the turn, so time wasn't right.
I moved Princess to engage you. I'm setting up for a Boiler to get that assist against you. I realized that with your feet up, or pardon, your legendary play up, and your profile having a fairly tanky quotient, and your counterattack being so good at getting you out of combat, I really need to commit to finishing your captain here.
Mm-hmm. So in that case, we had Gutter walk over and just take a swing on Ox. She has anatomical precision. Ox has a pretty low defensive line, so just going to do a bit of damage to him. I wind up doing a lot of damage to Ox over the course of this game.
Yeah. Ox is a really interesting character because you can generate a lot of momentum off him, as I mentioned earlier. But he's 19 health, and he heals 1 for every guy that he's stuck in with. So I've had turns where he's just activated, healed a couple because he's stuck in with guys, maybe spend a momentum to heal 4 more. Like, he can heal really, really aggressively. So as long as you don't let him go down, he's more durable than he looks.
Mm-hmm.
Boiler's activating. Boiler just walks in to kind of create that triangle of pinning you in.
Yep.
Boiler has assist princess.
Yeah.
So I attack you here, and I ask if you want to counterattack, and you do. You choose to counterattack.
Yeah.
Boiler manages to hit you 5 times. And he has anatomical precision, so he only has to deal with 1 of your armor.
Yes, and that's a big deal. 2 is a lot better than 1. A lot more than you'd think that 1 armor would make a difference. So I do manage to land a couple hits here, though, which is good because Boiler's pretty stacked up. So I'm just going to dodge straight out of the way, and more importantly, out of Princess's melee range as well.
Yeah. So I'm losing that ganging up bonus. Managed to put you out, but I did put pretty reasonable damage into you. And I was expecting that if you'd cleared conditions, Boiler was there available as a reserve model to put the bleed back on you, which is probably one of the reasons you chose not to.
Yeah, no, true enough.
He does with the remaining 2 influence because you dodged out of him. He's like, okay, well, my backup plan, I'm just going to give +1 defense to Fillet. That's what I'm here for. Dodging in, dodging out. Moving like a shadow.
So now Rage is going to go. He's furiously charging Ox and is ganging up with Gutter. So he's just going to put his charge in here.
Mm-hmm.
Just rolling 10 dice here.
That's a lot of dice.
Yeah.
And Ox is 3 ups, so that's... Yep. It's actually a really, really impressive number of misses.
Yeah, so I do a couple points of damage here. Critically, I do damage to him, though, so he's bleeding because of Crucial Artery.
Yep.
And also he has Berserk, so he gets to make a free attack as a result of that attack.
Yeah, and that attack does damage, too.
Yes.
You can't Berserk off of Berserk, but you certainly can spend that influence attack again and Berserk again.
Yes.
So you're getting a lot of hits. You hit Ox pretty badly here.
Yeah. And like during this turn, Rage is a 5-up. So that's pretty decent stat line.
Can he benefit from the legendary play?
Correct, he cannot.
Yeah, I think you marked the token on everyone else,
yes.
but mentioned to me that he can't because he's a bit of a loner, right?
Yes, he is a Maverick.
Yeah, that's a cool rule. There's a couple of weird instances that's come up in games where Craig and I played before because that Maverick rule means sometimes he can't be like hit by Scything Blow.
Yes, he cannot be hit by Gutter's Scything Blow.
Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of way that works. Yeah, sometimes the like being a loner can be an advantage in a rare circumstance, which I really appreciate about it. So you got a big pile of momentum there. That's not ideal. I want to kill your captain with my captain, but you're making it hard for me, Craig.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah, it's not what I was hoping.
I mean, Blackheart's taken a bit of damage. He's healed a bit more. I actually did spend a couple momentum at some point during this turn to heal him for 4 health instead of clearing his conditions.
Right. That makes sense given the damage he's taken.
Yeah, I figure that's slightly better because Flay's not fantastic at applying bleed, but...
She's not. But she has a lot of damage, and you just need to not... Like, you can't die on my initial attack and avoid having a counterattack that dodges you out.
Yes.
It's not really going to work for you. So Brisket moves in, and she just sort of tags you. I'm hoping to give her that... to yield that gang up bonus. And you moved the tiny snack over?
Yes, I did wind up throwing a thing out and putting an influence on, I believe, Decimate. Got the bag of coffers bonus.
All right. Fillet's doing it. She's rolling. She's going to see what she can do. You're 3s, and you've got 2 armor. So she gets a net total of 5 hits. With 5 hits, she can do some stuff. She does it momentously. She's got a long... like a long playbook, but with 5 hits, she's got the option of like a 3 damage plus a dodge, which when she's tooled up turns into 4 damage, and because you're bleeding, it turns into 5 damage.
I completely fluffed my counterattack on that last attack, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a really big deal because your dodge 1 wouldn't take you out, but your dodge 2 probably would have, and that's why being a 6-up defense right now is really, really helping me.
Yeah. because the game goes dramatically off the rails if I was able to dodge out of melee.
Oh yeah, because she's sitting on a whole bunch of influence, and she's got very, very little to do with it. Unlike Boiler, who was prepared for you to dodge out and to do something relevant with his influence anyway, she didn't have a great play. But I'm putting a ton of damage into you, and I dodge away with that last attack. That takes Blackheart off the pitch, which is a really big deal. And Fillet actually still has 3 influence, so I may have over-allocated to her a little bit, or maybe I got just a little bit lucky there with my rolls, but she's going to Pain Circle, because why not?
Yep. So just going to toss out that Pain Circle here and just hit all of my character. Oh, sorry. In this case, not going to be all of them. We're just going to be looking for hitting Decimate and Rage.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to apply more bleeds. So I hit. What's Decimate's defense? I may have missed that.
You did miss her, actually. She's 4 up. In this case, 5 up because of the legendary play.
Because of the legendary play. Yeah, the legendary play actually, I think, saved Decimate.
Yeah. We did erroneously put that there, but she also just gets it back when she walks into the...
that little back and forth there was when we realized that, oh, she wouldn't have been bleeding. But then it's like, oh, no, she walks into the bleeding. She's bleeding now. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So it all worked out. That Pain Circle providing a small element of control.
Yeah, we do correct for that one later on as we heals that one. Then, yeah, there's some stuff here. Anyway, so at this point, I'm sort of behind the 8 ball. I don't know if I have a good answer to Fillet at this point, so I'm just sort of looking at what I can do. My options here aren't great. Fillet's gone, so she can't go again, which is a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, Ox activated and he cleared conditions, which is kind of because I wanted to, reduce the damage output of that bleed. I don't know. Maybe I should have healed. It's tough to know. The thing is, because I activated, though, I was engaging 3 people, and I did heal for 3. So he actually doesn't have a ton of damage on him right now. Here's us correcting that bleed that we'd made a mistake about before.
Yeah. So that's dealt with.
So now it's time to score the goal, right?
Yeah. Mist is going to walk up 10 inches, just tap the ball in. Not quite tap in range, but...
I think you are in range. I think you just do it. I think you just spend the momentum and you're like, yep, here we go. Goal.
Unfortunately, this means that now the ball is pretty easily in the hands of either of your strikers.
Well, you do something really clever here, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Mist does that thing where you get to dodge after you score. So you're right there. You're right in front of me. And if that ball goes awry even a little bit, it's in your hands, and you can just tap it in again.
And Mist is actually really good at getting the ball from Brisket.
Yeah, so I'm really afraid here. I'm like, oh, I'll give it to Brisket. Good thing she doesn't have close control, and my Shadow Like is only useful in that it won't, in that you'll have to acrobatics once. Like
not even that. I can just walk into your walk base to base, and you can't unpredictable.
Right, because you also have a 2-inch melee. Yeah, the Butchers don't have a lot of 2-inch melee. I think it's really one of the balancing elements of their faction.
I think it's just Boron Ox.
Yeah, I think so. And then a couple of Union players that we can take.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we roll off here and we tie, and then critically on the reroll, I get the first turn.
Yeah,
which is a big deal because I'm super afraid that Mist is just gonna rob me of my intended goal.
Yeah, if I go first, then I probably get the ball off of Brisket pretty readily and score again and put me in a better position to command.
Because right now the score is 2-4. I'm taking out your captain, but you have a goal, so you're actually leading on points right now.
Yes.
Now there's been some damage done on both sides, mostly to Ox though. Like I haven't really softened up any of the other players.
Yes.
So I feel like at this point it's fair to say you're in a commanding lead.
Yes. Well, I'm commanding lead points wise, but in board position wise, I'm actually behind here.
You feel like because you're bunched up, it's a bit of an issue for you?
Yeah. Also, Fillet hasn't been controlled.
Yeah. When you let her loose and she just does whatever she wants, it's definitely an issue.
Yeah. Which is something that I need to pay more attention to during Butcher games.
Yeah.
Just because if she is able to just run the table, then she can get 4 or 6 points a game or a turn.
Yeah, there's no one with the kind of animalistic damage potential that she has. Like, she can just do so much work on her own.
So I'm going to jog Blackheart in over in that corner there. or not corner, but over on the edge of the pitch.
Yep.
And he's going to just jog on. He only jogs 4, but he's faster than you might think he is.
Yeah, it's interesting. He kind of comes onto he kind of has this sort of loitering pace, but because he's got that shadow and he's got all the extra movement and stuff, he's surprisingly fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like Smoke we talked about in the other game. That she's like, oh, she's only speed 4. She's really slow. She is not. She is not slow at all. And neither is Blackheart. So, Craig, you gonna steal this ball from me and score?
Well, I would, but unfortunately, depends on who needs to go first. I think you do lead with Brisket at some point. Not pictured right now as the snake behind the obstruction there.
Yeah. So I charge behind the obstruction.
Yep.
And the snake is right there. You can see just the edge of him poking out a little bit. Brisket got some pretty good influence here. She rolls well against the snake. He's defense 4 up, I think, 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1. He's going to counterattack because he has a tackle in 1.
Yeah. So she's like, well, I will dodge out momentously with all of those results because I sure don't want you to tackle me. And with that momentum, I guess it's time to super shot and kick in a goal. So Brisket's got a ability where she can spend an influence and get an extra die on her kick, plus extra distance. So 4 dice, she scores.
And I play Who Are Ya?
I don't know what that does.
It's the card that allows me to get 4 net hits on the next time I attack.
Right. It's the murder card. I totally forgot that. That's really scary. Cool. So she will play the card that says I get to make a full advance after scoring instead of
Yeah, knee slider. So you move your full max. You do your max move after you score a goal.
Yeah. So that's really good. You're like, I get 4 net hits on you. I'm vengeful and gonna murder you in the face. And I'm like, I'm gonna leave then forever, possibly.
I was getting greedy there with Blackheart. I'm like, okay, cool. This is gonna go well for me. I'm just gonna walk up and just basically just annihilate Brisket. But
yeah, the knee slider there was pretty urgent. The goal and then just take off as fast as you can. She's behind that cover, but by no means is she safe. Like if she comes back into the play, I think somebody's gonna end her. Mm-hmm. 4 net hits is a lot, especially against a fairly fragile striker who relies on her 5-up defense against gentlemen.
Yes. Thankfully, a lot of my team is surprisingly not male. Decimate and Gutter are both female, mm-hmm. And the snake is a snake.
It's a snake. I mean, one asks no questions and receives no snakes.
So at this point, the ball sort of scattered off into space. So I'm debating on the best way to sort of free up that ball.
It scattered off in the direction you sent it.
That's true. I wanted to sort of get into a better position there. So what I'm thinking here is that Rage might be able to deal with some of that ball. Rage is like a pretty garbage stat line for kicking, but
he can drop the ball just like anyone, though.
That's true.
So that's Gutter came in and she just trucked people here.
Yep, just hitting meat hook a lot.
I think he's scything blow. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes, this is a scything blow.
Yeah, that's nasty. So meat hook takes a bunch of damage. Ox takes more damage. Ox has just been oscillating on the bottom half of his card. Just, last turn I think he healed 3 for being engaged plus shook his bleed. This, just took 3 more from scything blow. So he's just like, I'm going to heal. I'm going to take damage. I'm going to heal. I'm going to take damage.
And here's that interaction we talked about with scything blow and Maverick, where Rage would have been in melee range of Gutter, but did not take any damage.
Yeah, and that's a really cool ability because he's helping her out by kicking up.
Mm-hmm. So it makes the scything blow more reliable.
So, what's Mist going to do here?
Not sure yet what Mist's plan is.
So, I'm not sure what Mist's plan is either. So I send Boiler in. I'm like, I need to control this crazy striker who's really good, and maybe he's a squishy target. Like if I can get him bleeding. So I send Boiler in, and I try to just get Boiler to attack him. I had to take the longer movement. I have 1 hit, but I'm anatomically precise.
Yes, and Mist has 0 armor, so he
right.
doesn't need to be too precise in order to hit him pretty hard.
So I only do 1 damage, but that does inflict the bleed condition. So that's kind of what I needed, so that Fillet can be as effective as she needs to be against him.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I'm expecting you to probably just take your party and run away with it.
Yes. Debating here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Mist. I don't want to move him just yet, just because I want to see how the board develops over the next couple activations.
So he can do something really relevant?
Yes. If I can get a good snapshot with him, then that basically means I can take the game.
It sure does. Yeah. Now that ball over there looks like it's really out of the play, but with Mist, nothing's out of the play for that long.
Mm-hmm.
The snake came over and it did its bag of coffers on Decimate. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now I've got some decisions to make here because he's kind of given me a turn to interact with Mist, and I'm afraid it might be a trap.
Because if you go in on Mist, then you wind up being out of essentially the middle part of the game for the next 2 turns.
Yeah, which is a big deal. And I've already sent Boiler over there to kind of set up the Fillet attack, so I'm a little bit anxious that I'm in some trouble, right? Like if I go into Mist now, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just seeing how this is going to sort of go. Rage walks over, kicks the ball to Blackheart as a place kick, so it's just going to scatter from where it is, and serendipitously actually scatters straight to Blackheart.
Yeah, better at kicking than he thought he was.
Yeah. In Engage, he loses the dice, so he's actually just kicking 1 dice looking for a 4-up.
Yeah, that's 50% of the time. It works every time.
Yes. So he doesn't get to dodge off that, but he does get to at least get the ball.
I do, after much deliberation, commit to the Mist play. I feel like taking the striker off the pitch puts him back in a relevant spot. Fillet's pretty quick, so maybe she can come in and be relevant. She's got a bunch of dice here, and if I can remove Mist, I'm in a great spot. I roll pretty garbage, but I got 2 net hits, and you're bleeding, so I get to do a pretty reasonable amount of damage with that because the bleed is +1 damage and a dodge result.
Yeah.
You make a counterattack, it flubs entirely. And I get back in there with another 9 dice on you. It goes down to 8 because of the cover, of course. This time it's 3 net hits. Generate momentum. Do some more damage to you. Rolling not great here. It's very little. This is better. This is a good roll. So 3 net hits.
Yeah.
Second to last attack. His high defense value is really the issue here.
Yeah. 5-up is a pretty safe-ish stat line, and there he goes.
Yeah.
Fortunately, not a whole ton is safe from Fillet.
She's down to 1 influence, which is unfortunate because she can't use that to pain circle or anything. But she finished him, and she got that 1 more point of dodge at the end. So I stuck myself in cover and got just a little bit closer to the play. Generated a bunch of momentum on that. So I'm hoping that's maybe something that helps me out later on.
Yeah. So I'm sort of weighing my options here on this turn. Losing Mist hurts my board position a lot. He was a good snapshot turret at that point.
Yep.
So at this point, we're just going to have Decimate walk in and just try to generate a couple momentum, see how the board changes from that. Essentially, I want to mitigate Tim's momentum lead.
And like with a bit of a kind of lucky spike here, it's very possible Decimate could actually just take Ox off the table, who is down to, I think, 6 or 7 health left.
Yeah, he's low, and Decimate has some pretty substantial damage results too, so it's not out of the question. Unfortunately, Rage is engaged, so he's not going to be charging anytime in the near future.
So Metic moves over and tries to attack Gutter, gets that bonus die, hooks Gutter, which is nice, and causes Gutter to be bleeding. Both pretty important elements of the play here.
Mm-hmm.
I only give Meadook the 1, expecting that she'd probably end up tooling up Fillet, but I didn't end up needing it. So just putting a bleed effect on Gutter, who's a pretty tough player to remove in general, is a perfectly acceptable thing for her to do right now.
Yes, now we're doing Blackheart. So he's going to sprint. I'm actually going to be passing the ball to the snake at this point in order to just get a bit more board position. So what I'm going to do here is Blackheart has a character play called On My Mark, where he can actually make another player do a pass. So essentially what I'll be doing here is I'll be passing the ball to the snake and kicking the ball pretty reliably, generating momentum from that, using On My Mark on the snake in order to get the snake to pass back to Blackheart and generating the momentum from that. So it hopefully will get me a bit more momentum to work with, maybe at least mitigating the next turn the initiative roll.
There's a little bit risk reward. We talked about this during the game because that snake only has 1 kicking die.
Yeah.
So, 2 momentum for basically 1 influence with no players around is amazing conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it hadn't worked, could have been a bit problematic, maybe. Set you up in a bit of a tough spot.
Where I am right now in the game, I need to take these risky plays in order to get back into it.
That's very true. So the bleed ticks, does some damage. Sorry, the dog moved in a little bit closer.
Yeah.
We roll off, and unfortunately, I do win the die roll again here.
Yes.
I've won a couple of pretty critical die rolls in this game that have been Craig had a 1 or a 2 point lead, and I still managed to sneak out that win.
Yeah.
And that's been telling. Like, it really can make a huge difference in this game.
Yeah, that game changes pretty dramatically if I win a couple of those rolls. I get a little bit better turn flexibility. I can do more stuff to maybe handle Fillet better earlier in the turn. So it's all things that sort of just change how this game goes. At this point, I'm down to 4 points. Basically, it's 8-4 at this point because he's taking out 2 players. I've got a Gore Scold on me. Like, it's not looking fantastic for me here.
Yeah. There was a big swing turn for me. The kind of goal that turns into a goal is always a really interesting situation. Because Mist's score was really strong, but Brisket was in a position to kind of capitalize on getting a goal of her own there.
Yeah, I got greedy when I went for the goal. I probably should have waited till the end of the turn and then scored at the end of it. So to mitigate that risk somewhat.
Oh, you did. I just then won the initiative roll against you.
Fair enough. Yes, that's true.
If you win the initiative there, I'm in trouble.
Yes, because then I might be able to get a bit more stuff there. What I'm hoping for game plan wise is try to take out 2 players and get a couple goals, but also just be flexible.
Yeah, I think at this point in the game you have to be flexible to kind of just see what comes up.
Mm-hmm. So Mist is on the pitch now, and he's in a good position to sort of get good later on. He's got free momentum against Brisket because of the vengeance marker or the vengeance token that's on her currently. So it's good there.
I really tried to just keep Brisket completely out of the play.
Yeah.
And you bringing Mist back on, I mean, there's nowhere Mist can the Brisket can really hide from Mist right now.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's
So Mituk goes in on Rage here, or pardon me, on Gutter.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to just Gutter took a little bit of chip damage before, continue to try to soften her up. I got 3 hits and 1 armor, so I'm going to put that hooked result on you, and then I'm also going to cause you to be bleeding, and that's really relevant.
Yeah, and she's fairly stacked at this point, so she's going to just keep doing some stuff there and just pushing her into a better position for dealing with being dealt with later.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing I want is just to get you a little closer to Fillet because, as we already talked, she's fairly far out of the play right now, and I'm bringing the play to her.
Yes,
there's a sort of a mountain mecha situation going on here. I'm gonna leave Gutter in the melee range of Ox, so I still get that ganging up bonus, and that's Mituk. Pretty effective activation. Caused bleed. Repositioned you really aggressively. I'm happy with that.
So over here we are.
I think that's my last Mituk attack.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
So Gutter's really reeling at this point. She's actually down pretty significant health-wise. She's been taking bleeds basically every turn. I haven't been healing her a ton other than just passively life drinking.
Yeah, and then life drinking can be a big deal, but
yeah, Gutter's.
I think you were life drinking for a bit against Ox, who also has the retaliation ability, so it just basically cancels out.
Exactly. So that's what I did here is I realized that I probably should retroactively heal before I attack, so I don't just get taken out by the counter because I'm down to 1 health.
Yep. So you're attacking Ox. I think it still makes sense to attack Ox, even though it negates your life drinker, because you just generate so much momentum from doing it. Mm-hmm. And he's actually pretty close to being taken out.
Yeah, and I'm activating Gutter while I still have a Gutter to activate.
Smart move.
Because if I wait, then Ox just goes and just annihilates her.
And that's not ideal. So you do pull Ox in with your chains, which is good because it kind of frees up a couple of players, possibly.
Yes, it frees up Rage critically.
To charge, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because Rage loves charging.
Yep, and then Ox is now going, and he does pretty much what he needs to do this turn.
Yeah, does a really good amount of damage. You being hooked and having that -1 defense is a huge boon for him because he has a long playbook and a high tackle stat, but he really wants to get deep into it, which means lower defense stats help him out a lot.
Yeah.
So he finishes her off.
Yes.
And he manages to trigger his rowdy result, which is
Oh, no, this is
or
the
pardon me,
owner.
this is the owner. That's not rowdy. That's everybody gets +1 damage. So Ox, having killed a player, goes back to being his old captain self, and now I'm playing a game where I have 2 captains.
Yes, and this isn't great, especially when I'm down so far points wise.
Now, critically, Fillet is still pretty far out of the play.
Mm-hmm.
So that she's not likely to be able to jump in and grab somebody. But, yeah,
So on my turn,
it's a big deal. That takes me to 10 points.
yes. So now anything that Tim does, other than killing my mascot, wins the game. So I'm in a bad spot. I recognize that winning the game might not be possible with the board state as it is right now. Like, I can possibly get to a good position later on, but I don't know if I have enough turns in order to pull this one out.
Because any one of your players can be a liability. Now,
Yeah.
no one's super injured at this point.
That's true.
Rage, as you saw, was successfully disengaged before. He gets to charge in on Meat Hook.
Yeah,
Meat Hook's actually taken a little bit of damage.
she has.
She took the Scything Blow hit before. She took a couple of hits from Gutter, so she's not in a great spot.
So now
she has 5 left.
So she's going to counterattack. This is a pretty critical roll here. She counters, hits him a couple of times, and gets critically a double push. I thought she was going to push me out of melee range, but there's a better plan.
There is a better plan. Craig's like, oh, you'll push me out of melee range. I'm like, no, I have a different thing. So she's Crucial Artery, so she causes a bleed. And then she has a bleed push result, I believe. Or sorry, like a damage push result, I believe.
Yeah, and now he's hooked as well.
Yes. So he's hooked because he was damaged by her. And the result she has is 2 damage and a single push on 3.
So now I realize the game is on his next activation. Flay's going to walk in there and just rip apart Rage.
That's the trick, because he was out of threat before and is in threat now.
Yes. So the rest plays out exactly as, well, you'll see. She goes in. Fillet is fully stacked at this point.
Yep. Has a gang up bonus.
Has a gang up bonus. Rage is bleeding. There's the owner.
Yep. The owner bleeding, everything. You thought she was out, but she's back. And here we go. She's basically tooled up twice, even though she's not tooled up at all. And with the 5 results she's got there, and the I think you do spend a momentum to clear the bleeding. Because you have Crucial Artery, so you caused Meat Hook to be bleeding. That's what that token represents.
Yeah.
So you were smart. You're like, I'd like to have you, deal with that situation.
Yeah.
I do bleed you, though,
Yes.
with the result that I've got, because I need to get that going. You counterattack, and it doesn't do what it needs to do. There's a couple of damage to Fillet, but not enough to take her out, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're bleeding, and I've got an extra attack, I can go really hard here and expect to do a ton of damage. I get a lot of results. Because again, you're hooked.
Yeah.
You're
So
now
ups.
bleeding again.
Yeah.
Like and you don't have a lot of armor. I think is it 0?
Yeah. He's a 0 armor thing.
Yeah. She dodges a little bit closer, makes another attack. Does a bunch of damage. I think you've got 5 left now?
Yeah. He's been taking some pretty significant damage throughout the game just from the bleeds that he just keeps getting hit with. So it's not going well for the Union team this time, and that's the game, actually.
That is a dead rage.
Yep.
Good game, Craig. Thank you very much for being a part of this and helping us out on the channel with your Guild Ball expertise.
Not a problem. It was fun to be here.
And we're hoping to have you back on to play either some of your engineers or maybe one of the other 2 Union captains.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right, guys. Check it out. This is, as I say, pretty early in our process for doing Guild Ball. We're hoping to make this a bi-weekly series, so check us out for more Guild Ball every second Wednesday on Arcane Assist.